It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. Well, if this is your very first time tuning into the Divas, we are so excited to have you a part of our amazing group, and we always welcome you as our family. The Divas That Care is now in its 11th season. We have a lot of different hosts on our network, so I encourage you to check them out at Divas That Care. divasthatcare.com, because you won't want to miss any of their programs. Well, today's guest, I'm so excited because she's a returning diva. I love the amazing information that she shares with all of us. Rhonda is going to be my guest today. And as I said, we're going to be talking about a really cool topic today. So welcome back, Rhonda. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Candace, for having me back again. I love being here, and I'm honored to be here.
Well, we are always excited to have you back, and I know that we will definitely have you back even more in the next year or so. So, Rhonda, would you mind maybe introducing yourself to all of our new listeners today?
Absolutely. So I am a nutrition and lifestyle coach as well as personal trainer. And sometimes people think, well, what does that really mean? Are you going to tell me what to eat and you're going to tell me what to do for working out? And it's part of it, but it's really just a small piece of it. What I do is I really help to support women, primarily women, who have, a history with dieting and sort of negative self-talk around their health and their wellness and how they're feeling about themselves. And I partner with them to create healthy habits that can integrate pretty seamlessly into their current lifestyle. I always really want to, make sure that people understand that, diets and, boxing you into a certain way of living doesn't work for everybody because it's not custom, it's not made for you. So I work with clients to really build them up and to establish really healthy behaviors that can fit into their world long-term, not short-term. I'm a mom as well to two girls. I've had my own struggles with my own nutrition and overall wellness as I sort of grew up. And I want to help to end the struggle for other women and to be there for them so that we can move forward in a really healthy way. So I love what I do. I have amazing women that I work with, and seeing them sort of take back control of their life is what I really, want to do in the end.
Oh, I love that. And it's so true, isn't it? One thing is not going to work for everybody. And
yeah.
I love how you really say that. You individualize for that individual. And that's important because we're not the same. And what works for you is not going to work for me. And you really are developing such a great coaching aspect. Like, you're helping these people develop their lifestyle through your coaching. And I think that's great.
Absolutely. It has to be custom. It has to be about you, right? Not everyone fits into this nice, tidy little box and can just follow along with, a certain meal plan or a workout plan. We all have to consider our own lifestyles, our own schedules, our families, how we operate, what we're willing to do, and then develop a plan from there.
Oh, I love that. And is it true, too, that things change as we get older?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, we have to consider what's going on in our bodies and our lifestyle changes. Sometimes we're, our life based on, say, you have kids and you have young kids, our schedule is different when we have, young kids, and then as they grow older and they're running to sports and different activities, we have to consider that lifestyle. And then maybe as you're moving into retirement, your lifestyle changes then. And then of course, all the changes that are going on hormonally within your body, we have to adapt to that, and that's why it has to be about the individual, not just about sort of the general masses out there.
Oh, I love that. So now we're kind of getting to the end of our summer, and we're looking at going into fall. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting. Why is that important to start that now?
So I almost think that September sort of feels like January, the whole New Year's resolution thing, which I don't really subscribe to, but I love the fact that it can feel like a fresh start moving into September. We've all come off vacation where we're a little bit more carefree. The kids are going back to school. Maybe something changes with people's jobs. And I think that there's an opportunity really here to set some goals for the balance of the year, and not just short-term goals that, for the next month, but carrying you right into December and even into 2022. But at the same time, as we set these larger goals, I think that can be a little bit overwhelming oftentimes, and too big. So while we can have our big goals, I think that it's often necessary to break those big goals down into really small, manageable pieces that we can really sort of, again, that whole concept of seamlessly integrating new healthy measures and new goals into our life so that it's not really overwhelming for us. We want to be setting ourselves up for success, not setting ourselves up to fail a couple weeks in. So, but I think that right now, again, coming off vacation, coming off kids being off school, I think this is a fantastic time to reevaluate what our goals are around our health and our nutrition and our fitness and our sleep goals and managing stress and all those things. This is a perfect time to do that piece so that we're starting off the fall and winter season on a good note.
You know what? And I think it's so good, especially what we've all been through in the last little while, to have something that we can see and tangible things that we can work towards really, I think, helps us on a mental level also.
Absolutely. We've all been through a lot, some more than others. And sometimes just sort of stepping back and going, okay, I haven't, sort of been in control of what I've been doing. And we know that if we don't have our health, we don't have much of anything. So we really have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. It allows us to better handle all of the external stressors that are going on if we know we are taking care of ourselves. And that just doesn't mean, it doesn't mean going on a diet. It doesn't mean suddenly hitting the gym 5 days a week or 7 days a week. We have to focus on really all aspects. And when I work with clients on setting goals, we're not just talking about food and exercise. Like I said earlier, we're talking about sleep. We're talking about how we're handling stress management and what are some techniques that might work for you. And I think that, like I said earlier about how I coach clients, is that when you're looking at your goals that you want to, meet down the road, I think you also have to consider really your lifestyle. What is coming up in your world? Are the kids going back to activities? Do you have some changes that are going on with family members or with work? And really making sure that the goals that you're setting for yourself really fit into your world. Because if they don't, then they're really going to be short-lived. And we're really looking for long-term success here, not short-term.
Well, I like that you're kind of like a one-stop shop. You're able to help people with, developing, fitness and nutrition. And, I think you're working on a lot of other things with people on a holistic level that they might not necessarily know that they actually needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can't just be about one piece of the puzzle, right? It can't just be about the food that you're putting in your body. We have to consider all aspects. Now, that being said, I also don't believe in sort of, going, hardcore right out of the gate. I think we have to be reasonable with what different, goals you're setting for yourself and what measures you're willing to integrate into your life. And once you gain success or you see success from those small things, that creates momentum. And then we can say, okay, now that I've sort of mastered that, or I've got that under control, or feel really good about that goal, let me add another piece to the puzzle. So really breaking those goals down into small bite-sized pieces helps you to continue to move forward. And I think that doing sort of a little assessment, something I like to do with clients too, is assess what you're ready, willing, and able to do right now. Doesn't mean it's going to not change down the road, but we have to be realistic. What am I ready to do right now? What am I willing to do right now? And what am I actually able to do right now? And really consider those things when you're, moving through your goal setting and setting yourself up.
Oh, I love it. And one of the things that have really intrigued me about you, Rhonda, is that you also have a family component to this, that you can do this with your family. Because sometimes we find that if we're doing things by ourselves, we don't necessarily always get things done, but you can incorporate your whole family into your goals.
Absolutely. It's vital to do that, right? Because, unless you happen to be someone that lives on your own, it's maybe a little bit, different. But if you've got a spouse or a partner or, children at home, integrating them into, this whole concept of setting healthy goals, it really is helpful if we can involve the whole family, because, if you don't, you feel like you're on an island, working at these things on your own while the rest of the family is carrying on doing whatever they need to be doing. And if we can integrate everybody, it doesn't mean everybody's working towards the same goal or they're all sort of eating the same thing or doing the same exercise. It doesn't mean that, but it just means that the topic of health and wellness is prominent within the family. And then you feel like you are part of a team. You're all doing it together. And that's, another aspect that I really coach to is creating a support system around you. And sometimes it's your family, sometimes it's your friends, sometimes it's your coworkers, or it's a coach like myself, right, to really partner with and to gain strength from. And there's an accountability piece there as well, but I always encourage people to be accountable to themselves, not to be accountable to other people. Be accountable, honor the commitments that you've made to yourself, because that's what's going to drive you forward.
Oh, I love that. And you also have another thing that was pretty cool, is that you offer small group coaching. So this is a great thing for, maybe individuals that don't have necessarily that support network, or the family, they might be on their own, but they need that encouragement because they feel like they can't do it by themselves. Tell me about that, because I find that that's a really cool thing also.
Absolutely. I do offer the one-on-one coaching, and obviously they get the support from me. But the nice thing about the small group coaching is that you feel like you are part of something. You feel like you are not alone. You feel like you can share what's going on and gain strength from the other women in the group. And again, it doesn't mean you're all working towards the same goal. And in fact, they're often not working towards the same goals. But to be able to feel like you're almost part of a team. It's like, it's the whole team sport versus an individual sport concept, right? You get encouragement, you gain strength from other women. When one person's down, the others sort of pick up that person. And I love seeing that. This is about women supporting women, and I love that. Not feeling like they're alone. And it is a fantastic concept, and it works really, really well.
Oh, I can definitely see that. We've always seemed to work well when we have a cheering squad with us, somebody that's going to lift us up and, not doing it by ourselves. And I think that's the key. I watch so many people, in different groups on, even on Facebook and stuff, and they really encourage each other. And I think that's the best part of it. I'm going to ask you, Rhonda, do you do this just in, I know that you are located in Ontario, Canada. Is this something that you offer for people across Canada and maybe into other countries?
Absolutely. One thing that's been positive that's come out of COVID, because we do have to think on the positive side, is that my business used to be where I would go from home to home and do coaching, whether it was the nutrition and lifestyle coaching or the personal training. And with COVID, obviously that was no longer an option. So I had to pivot, and just like most people did, and start doing things virtually. And I have since decided that it worked so effectively, and I could reach such a wide variety of women in terms of, where they work or where they live, that I can coach, women from anywhere around the world, which is amazing because it's all virtual, and it's not over the phone. It is, we're doing it live, over whatever sort of platform works best for us, but it's video, coaching, and it's been super effective. So I'm available to anyone, anywhere.
That is fantastic. And just think of all the people that you can meet doing this. And I think that's the best part of, as you said, the new virtual reality that we're kind of living in. And that you meet so many people around the world. And, that's kind of what I've done too, is that I've had the opportunity in the last 18 months to really meet people from all over the world, from South Africa, throughout Europe, and, to North America and stuff. And I just thought this is so great because we can all work together. You can get a group of amazing people that are like-minded, and you can support one another.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. We've all adapted, and we've had to adapt, right, to this new virtual world. Things we didn't think were possible before to, do virtually, because I never would have thought about, conducting my business virtually before. And, even my clients that were in-person clients that had to transition to virtual, they are absolutely on board to continuing to do virtual. It's worked extremely effectively. And so I love the business model, and it works for my clients, and it works for me and for my family.
Oh, wonderful. So when does your next group program start?
I will be starting a new small group coaching in September. And the date is sort of flexible only because I want the women that are interested in doing the coaching to be able to establish what timeline works best for them, but definitely September. And then, of course, the private coaching can start whenever, a client is willing to sort of dive into the process. And then I also do virtual personal training. So if someone's looking, their nutrition's sort of on point and all the other aspects we talked about, but they're kind of lacking in the physical fitness area, I do virtual personal training as well, and that can begin at any time as well.
Oh, well, that's exciting. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I think a lot of our listeners would be very interested in that one.
Yeah, so the personal training, people don't think they need to be in a gym, or they think that they need to have a coach right there beside them. And that hasn't been the case. Again, I was forced to, pivot and transition to online even with my personal training clients. And again, very much the same approach that I take with my nutrition clients in that it's custom. So I develop custom workout plans that I walk my clients through. I'm not doing the workout, with them, because could you imagine if I did that with all my personal training clients, I'd be extremely exhausted. But I'm certainly demoing all the exercises. I'm using the proper terminology, so if they're doing it on their own at some point, they know what the exercises are. But I come up with new, fresh, unique workouts every week for my training clients. They're often amazed that, how do you keep thinking of these new workouts? But I really pride myself on, not being sort of stale and coming up with new things, whether it's, a different format to a workout. Maybe we're like using cards, or we're using like heads or tails on a coin, or doing some sort of, patterned workout. But it's very custom based on the individual. So if they have an injury that they're dealing with, or they have certain limitations, then the workout will be for them, not for all of my clients together. And every week they can expect a brand new workout. And I just walk them through it. Each workout is about an hour long. We have a warm up, a cool down, and they get to, the nice thing about custom, personal training as well, is that they can move through the workout as they need to. If they need a break, we take a break. If they're ready to move forward, we move forward.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I think that is something that we're going to find more and more people are wanting to do, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge of, going to the gym a lot of times. Yeah. We don't have the time. We can't put it into our schedule. And, with all the new different rules that are taking place in different places, sometimes that's going to be a challenge also for people.
Absolutely. And you don't need a big space. People often think, well, I don't really have any room in my house. I have women that are in apartments, or they're just in their hallway, and I, again, because it's custom, it's based on what you have available to you. Space you have available, the equipment that you have available, and of course what your personal fitness is like, or any injuries that you might be experiencing. And I work around all of that. So you don't need any equipment, you don't need any a big space to work at. And then again, to your point, it can be done around your own personal schedule.
Rhonda, this is fantastic. This is absolutely a great thing, and it's a game changer for a lot of people who were struggling with this in the last 18 months, where they couldn't do things and they had to change their lifestyles. And, unfortunately with, when we became couch potatoes, that some of us maybe not able to get outside and do anything, right? Everything changed. So having something like this is absolutely extraordinary. And I think that you're doing such a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're right. I think that, we were thrown into all of this stuff with COVID, and we weren't expecting it, so couldn't plan accordingly. And now we need to regroup and, decide how we're going to move forward. And again, if we don't have our health, we don't have much of anything, and we need to make sure we're taking care of it. And that helps us in all other areas of our life. So the easier people can, attain those services or that support, which I'm trying to offer, is better for people. Then it can fit into their world a little more seamlessly.
You are amazing, girl. I love it. So one of the things I ask our amazing guests when they come on our programs is, do you have any tips or tools, things that you can leave our listeners with today?
Well, since we were talking about goal setting, I'll kind of relate it to that, because then that's sort of the building block, right, for everything else. So, with regards to goals, write them down. Make them tangible, and then set the big goals, or the big goals, and then funnel them down into small bite-sized pieces. So if you're currently not working out at all, let's say, and your goal is to become, active 5 days a week, let's not start with 5 days a week. Let's start with 1 or 2 days a week. And then as that becomes part of your norm, then you can add from there. So start small, continue to build as you see success and as you see that it's fitting into your world, and continue to build. But write things down. I know people don't like to do that, and it's time consuming, but then there's that piece of accountability there. You can reference back, and don't be afraid to change your goals as they go. They're not carved in stone. We can adapt and change them, but push yourself. Honor the goals that you're making and the commitments. You deserve that. And we deserve to treat ourselves better than we do. So we need to hold ourselves, I think, to a bit of a higher standard, and then create that support system around you.
That is perfect. Thank you so much. Rhonda, how can our listeners get a hold of you? What is your website address?
So my address is www.rhondaarmourcoaching.com. And everything you need is there. You can book a consultation through my website, which is free. There's no pressure to commit to anything. All the details about all my programs are there, and especially my philosophy around coaching. It's really quite clear on my website, my philosophy and methodology around coaching. So again, it's Rhonda Armour at rhondaarmourcoaching.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, I will be posting that on our social media so that you can check it out too. Well, Rhonda, I've had a great time. As I said, even last time, it's always a pleasure having you on our program because you give so much information to us. And I've been writing notes the entire time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm happy to come back anytime you want me.
Well, I would love that. So thank you so much. And a big shout out to all of our listeners. Make sure you check out Rhonda's website. As I said, I'm going to be posting that on social media. And make sure that you pass this program on to your friends and family. That's what the Divas is all about, is that we're trying to get those connections so that people are meeting the right people. Rhonda is such an amazing woman. And as I said, she's been on our program before, and she offers so many helpful tips. If you were looking for a personal trainer, you're looking to get a life coach, make sure that you check her out. She's absolutely amazing. Well, again, I hope that everybody enjoyed our program. I hope that you do something kind for somebody today. And until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.